A young human man named Evan Hale wakes up to strange lights outside his rural home. At first, he thinks it is just another mining drone flying too low. But then he hears a soft knock on his door. When he opens it, a tall, silver-skinned alien woman collapses into his arms. She is injured, trembling, and holding two small children with glowing blue eyes. Before losing consciousness, she whispers, "Please, protect my children." Evan freezes. The children cling to him. And outside, something moves in the dark, shadows shaped like armored soldiers. He quickly hides the alien woman and the kids in his basement. Strange, heavy footsteps pass outside. Evan realizes these soldiers are searching for her. The kids stare at him with fear and something else, recognition. One of them touches his face and says, in broken English, "Papa." Evan panics. Who is their father? Why did they call him that? He has never seen an alien child in his life. When the woman wakes up, she looks at Evan, and says his name. "Evan, I found you." He doesn't understand, but the woman explains her name is Lyra, princess of the Velnari Empire, a powerful alien kingdom. Years ago, she crashed near Earth and lived hidden for months. She met Evan, they became close, but an attack from her enemies forced her to leave Earth. She was pregnant, and Evan never knew. Welcome to my channel Sci-Fi Love Story. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. The night was quiet on the remote human settlement of Eden's Hollow, a small colony on the distant planet Tyria 9. The sky glowed with faint streaks of violet from the twin moons, and a gentle wind rustled the metal roofs of scattered homes. For Evan Hale, a young man in his late 20s, it seemed like any other night. That was until he noticed a strange flickering light outside his modest house. At first, he thought it was just a mining drone passing overhead. But then he heard it. A soft knock on the door, hesitant and almost human. Heart pounding, Evan approached and slowly opened the door. Standing there was a woman he had never seen in his life. Her skin shimmered silver, her eyes glowed faintly in the moonlight, and her body was covered in a torn, glowing fabric. She seemed exhausted, almost collapsing into his arms. In her arms were two small children with striking blue eyes that seemed to light up in the dark. Evan's breath caught. Who, what are you? He stammered. Before she could answer, she whispered urgently, "Please, protect my children." The woman's voice trembled, and her eyes pleaded with him. Evan barely had time to react before the sound of heavy footsteps echoed from the road outside. Shadows moved in the darkness, shaped like soldiers in armored suits. Their glowy, NG eyes scanned the houses, clearly searching for someone, or something. Without thinking, Evan grabbed the children and dragged them inside. He shut the door quietly and hid the silver-skinned woman behind his couch. He could hear the soldiers moving outside, their metal boots clanging against the ground. The children clung to him, fear and recognition in their eyes. One of them reached up and touched his face, whispering in broken English, "Papa." Evan froze. Papa? How could these alien children call him that? He had never seen him before in his life. The woman stirred, opening her eyes slowly. She looked at Evan, her gaze softening with recognition. "Evan, I found you," she whispered. Evan stared at her, stunned. The world suddenly seemed to spin faster than it had any right to. The woman introduced herself as Lyra, princess of the Velnari Empire, a powerful alien civilization that ruled many star systems. Years ago, she had crashed near Earth while fleeing an attack on her home planet. During her time on Earth, she met Evan, and they grew close. But she was forced to leave before revealing her pregnancy. Now, after years, she had returned, not alone, but with their children. And the Empire's enemies were hunting her. Evan tried to process the situation. His life had always been ordinary, predictable. Now, he was a father of alien children. And the woman who claimed to be his partner was almost dying in his living room. Suddenly, the sound of the soldiers outside grew louder. They were coming closer. Without a word, Evan grabbed both children and started running toward the forest behind his house. Lyra struggled to keep up, leaning on a makeshift cane, her silver skin glinting faintly in the moonlight. The children, sensing danger, began to emit a soft glow, shielding them from sight. Evan was amazed. He had no idea his kids had powers. The glow made him almost invisible to the patrolling soldiers. Still, Evan's heart pounded. Every step through the forest felt like walking into a trap. He could hear the soldiers shouting orders, their voices mechanical and cold. As they reached a small clearing, the children collapsed from exhaustion. Evan caught them in his arms, feeling a strange warmth from their tiny bodies. Lyra finally caught up, leaning against a tree, breathing heavily. "We need help," she said. "I can't hide from them for long. The children, they are special. They must reach my mother." Evan frowned. "Your mother? Who's she?" Lyra's eyes softened. "The Queen, the ruler of the Velnari Empire. She is the only one who can protect our children from the hunters." Evan felt a chill. The word Queen brought images of massive power and authority. Somehow, he knew this wasn't a title to be taken lightly. Before they could discuss further, a shadow fell across the clearing. A massive ship uncloaked above them. Its hull gleamed with royal symbols, and bright lights scanned the forest floor. The children gasped and grabbed Evan's arms tightly. "That is my mother's ship," Lyra whispered, her voice trembling. Evan's heart raced. The ship descended slowly, a beam of light cutting through the trees. Lyra held the children closer. The beam moved toward them, an unmistakable targeting system. And then a voice boomed, deep and echoing, "Princess Lyra. You will bring the human to me." Evan froze. The voice carried authority and menace, and it was not there to rescue them. "No," Lyra said, stepping forward. Her hands glowed faintly. "He is their father. He will not leave." The ship's lights flickered, and several guards emerged, floating down from the hull in anti-gravity suits. Their eyes glowed red, scanning for Evan. He tightened his grip on the children and ran, but the clearing seemed too small, too enclosed. Evan's mind raced. Fight, run, hide, each option seemed worse than the other. But he could not, would not, let the children fall into the hands of these soldiers. The children, sensing Evan's fear, began to emit a brighter glow, expanding outward like a protective dome. The soldiers faltered, scanning their instruments in confusion. For a moment, it seemed like Evan and the children might escape. But then a powerful beam of energy shot from the ship's hull, cutting through the trees. Lyra screamed and threw herself over the children, absorbing the blast. The force threw them all to the ground. Evan felt a sharp pain in his shoulder but quickly shook it off. "We must reach the ship," Lyra said, her voice strained but determined. "It is the only place they cannot touch us." Evan nodded. He lifted the children again, their glow still flickering, guiding him through the dark forest. Branches whipped against his face, but he kept moving, driven by the primal need to protect his family. Suddenly, a deep roar echoed behind them. The ship's guards were giving chase, deploying smaller drones to intercept them. Evan ran faster, dodging energy blasts and fallen logs. He could see the massive ship hovering above a cliff ahead. The landing ramp was illuminated, inviting, yet menacing. The children's glow dimmed with exhaustion. Lyra struggled to keep pace. Evan realized they would not make it if he didn't act fast. "Climb," he whispered, motioning toward a large root of an ancient tree. The children scrambled up, holding tight to his hands. Lyra followed, limping but moving with determination. As they reached the top of the cliff, the landing ramp extended fully. The ship's lights bathed them in white brilliance. Evan hesitated for a moment. This was uncharted territory, stepping into an alien world. But the children's eyes, wide and fearful, reminded him why he had to go on. He took a deep breath and led them forward. As their feet touched the metallic ramp, a blinding beam of light swept over them. The children screamed, shielding their eyes. Evan held them tightly, whispering words of comfort. The moment they crossed the threshold, the ramp retracted, and the ship lifted smoothly into the sky, leaving the dark forest behind. Evan looked at the children. They were trembling, exhausted, but alive. Lyra finally collapsed to the floor, breathing heavily. "You did it," Evan said, gently placing the children on the floor beside her. We're inside." Lyra nodded weakly. "Yes, but now comes the hard part. My mother, the Queen, she will judge you, human. And she is merciless." Evan swallowed. He had faced storms, predators, and now alien soldiers. But the thought of being judged by an alien queen, while holding his children, terrified him in a way he had never known. The children looked up at him, still glowing softly, their small hands holding his. Evan realized one thing: he would fight, he would run, or he would beg if necessary, but he would not leave these children. Not now, not ever. The ship's interior loomed ahead, a corridor of glowing crystal walls, tall ceilings, and alien inscriptions pulsing softly with light. Beyond it lay the fate of the family, and the moment when Evan would face the Queen of the Velnari Empire. And somewhere deep inside, Evan felt the first stirrings of hope. Because if his courage, and his humanity, could survive this night, maybe, just maybe, his children could survive it too. The corridors of the Velnari royal ship gleamed with a soft, pulsating light. Evan's heart pounded as he carried the two children through alien hallways that towered over him like glass cliffs. Lyra followed closely, limping slightly, her hands glowing faintly to calm the children. Their soft blue light flickered as if sensing the tension around them. Ahead loomed a massive hall, taller than any building Evan had ever seen on Earth. The walls shimmered with golden inscriptions, and floating crystal orbs lit the room with a warm, almost divine glow. At the far end of the hall, seated on a throne made of translucent crystal, was a woman who radiated authority and power. Her silver-golden armor reflected the light, and her eyes burned like molten gold. Evan instinctively felt the weight of the woman's gaze. Every step toward her felt like walking into a storm. The children clung to his hands tightly, sensing the tension before it even reached him. The queen rose slowly, her movement elegant yet terrifying. Her golden eyes scanned the group, lingering first on Lyra and then on the children. For a moment, silence filled the hall. Then, as if seeing a long-lost piece of herself, her lips parted in shock. "Are these my grandchildren?" she gasped, her voice echoing through the hall. Evan froze. The children's small hands gripped his tightly, and Lyra bowed her head, almost ashamed. The queen walked forward slowly, each step deliberate, her golden eyes softening as she approached the children. She extended her hands, and as she touched their glowing cheeks, the energy in the room seemed to shift. "Impossible, yet true," she whispered. Guards and attendants exchanged astonished glances, murmuring among themselves. A human father, and Velnari children. Evan swallowed hard. He had expected anger, maybe even punishment, but not this stunned reverence. The queen's attention then turned to him, her gaze sharp and calculating. "Human, you have endangered the royal line simply by existing. Why should I allow you near them?" Evan's heart raced. He realized that he was standing in front of one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy, and she was questioning his right to exist in her presence. He straightened his back and spoke honestly, "I never asked for this. But they are my children. I will protect them with my life." For a moment, the queen said nothing. Then she tilted her head, examining him as if trying to read his very soul. "Your courage, and your loyalty, are unlike any human I have known," she said finally. "But courage alone cannot protect them. You must understand the stakes." She turned to Lyra, who had been quietly holding her children's hands. "The Empire does not merely hunt your enemies," the queen explained. "There is a faction, a rogue group, that will kill these children to prevent their bloodline from existing. They believe mixing species is an abomination. If they succeed, the galaxy will remain as it always was, divided and stagnant." Evan's mind raced. The children he had just begun to understand were not just special, they were symbols of a new future. Their existence could reshape entire star systems. "Then we cannot hide," he said firmly. "We have to fight, or at least survive long enough to prove they belong here." The queen studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Perhaps you are braver than I anticipated. But bravery alone will not save you from those who come next." As if on cue, alarms blared through the hall. The royal ship shook violently. Outside, small fighter ships with dark, jagged wings attacked. The rogue faction had found them. Evan instinctively stepped in front of the children. "Get behind me," he shouted. The children's glowing light flared instinctively, creating a small protective bubble around them. The queen's soldiers moved swiftly, deploying shields and energy barriers. Lyra leaped into action, her silver skin shimmering as she unleashed a series of energy blasts toward the invaders. Evan watched in awe as she moved with a grace and power he had never imagined. The intruders broke through one of the side corridors, and Evan realized they were coming directly for him. A rogue soldier aimed a weapon at the children, and without thinking, Evan tackled him, grabbing the gun and smashing it against the wall. Sparks flew, and the soldier stumbled back, stunned. The children began to glow brighter, their energy expanding, illuminating the hall with a dazzling light. The intruders recoiled, clearly unprepared for the intensity of the children's power. Evan breathed heavily, realizing that while the children were powerful, they were still children. They needed him, not only for protection but also for guidance. The queen appeared beside him suddenly, her presence commanding the room. She raised her hand, and with a flash of golden light, several attackers were thrown back through the hall, unconscious but alive. "Human," she said, looking at him with a strange intensity. "You have risked everything for these children. That cannot be ignored. Your courage, your love, it matters." Evan, still catching his breath, nodded. "I do what any parent would do." The Queen's expression softened slightly. "Perhaps, but the Empire does not allow outsiders so easily. Your place with them is uncertain. Yet, your actions have earned you a chance to prove yourself." Before Evan could respond, the ship rocked violently again. Another wave of attacks came, and the hall trembled. Lyra shouted, "We cannot hold them forever. Evan, take the children and find a safe place." Evan lifted the children once more, their glowing hands clutching his arms. He ran toward a side corridor as Lyra and the Queen's soldiers engaged the remaining intruders. Energy blasts lit up the walls in flashes of blue and gold. The corridor led to a smaller chamber filled with alien symbols and glowing crystals. Evan set the children down gently and watched them for a moment. They were terrified, but their energy flares were diminishing. They were exhausted. "Papa," the eldest whispered, clutching his hand. "Are we safe?" Evan knelt beside them, brushing their hair back. "I promise, we'll be safe. I'm not leaving you." Lyra appeared, still glowing faintly from her recent battle. She smiled at Evan, relief evident on her face. "They are alive, thanks to you." The Queen entered the chamber next, her steps purposeful but calm. She knelt before the children, a gesture of respect and recognition that stunned Evan. "You are the heirs," she said softly, "and you have the right to exist. But your journey will not be easy." Evan looked between Lyra, the children, and the Queen. He realized that this was more than just survival. They were not only fighting for their lives, they were fighting for a new future, a future where humans and Velnari could coexist, and where courage and love mattered as much as bloodline. Suddenly, alarms blared again, but this time, it was different. The rogue faction had retreated. Their attack was over, for now. The Queen turned to Evan, her golden eyes studying him carefully. "Human," she said, "your actions have proven one thing. Love and courage are not limited to one species. You are their father, and you will stay by their side. But understand this, your life will change forever. The Empire is vast, and enemies will come." Evan nodded. He looked at the children, their small hands holding his, their blue eyes reflecting trust and hope. "I don't care," he said firmly. "They are my children. I will do whatever it takes." The Queen's gaze softened, almost approvingly. "Then you are accepted, for now. But remember, this is only the beginning. The galaxy will never see them as ordinary. They are the future." Lyra stepped forward, holding the children close. She looked at Evan, her silver eyes shimmering. "You risked everything for us. You are more than I could have hoped for." Evan smiled tiredly, exhausted from the night's chaos but filled with a sense of purpose he had never known. He realized that even in the face of alien power, political intrigue, and danger, there was one thing that could never be taken from him: his family. The Queen extended her hand, not to punish, but to invite. "Welcome to the family," she said. Evan took it, and for the first time, he felt truly seen, not just as a human, but as a father, as a protector, as part of something bigger than himself. The children laughed softly, their glowing light now calm, no longer flickering with fear. Lyra smiled beside him, relief washing over her face. And as the ship jumped into light speed, carrying them toward unknown worlds and unimaginable adventures, Evan knew one thing: the galaxy had changed forever. And so had he, because sometimes, even a simple human could become a hero among the stars. And sometimes, courage and love were stronger than empires.